Welcome to Navigating Hope, your compass to health empowerment. I'm Dr. Jaime Hope, steering you through healthcare, overcoming overwhelm, personal goals, and emergencies. We'll navigate the healthcare maze with actionable insights and real-world advice, unlocking the secrets to a healthier, more vibrant life. Join us to take control of your well-being and make informed decisions for your health and your future. Stay with us as we unravel the mysteries of medicine, wellness, and life's unforeseen challenges, helping you bypass the ER with a dose of knowledge. Stay tuned till the end of the episode with a recap of your actionable insights and a free gift. Let's chart a course to your well-being together. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode. I am bursting with excitement because I get to introduce you to an amazing human being, Julie Reisler, who is a friend. She is an amazing podcast host. So let me read the bio here so you can understand her official street cred, and then you'll get to meet this just incredible human being. So she is the CEO of Empowered Living, Inc., and is a transformation expert and intuitive guide. Julie was voted the top 10 most influential life coaches in 2023. And we're going to unpack that because there's a lot of people out there calling themselves life coaches. Julie, we're going to dive into that. And she's a board certified master life and wellness coach and is a mentor to hundreds of coaches, change makers, and soulful entrepreneurs. Julie hosts the USU podcast. So if you have not heard that yet, you got to run over and check it out. It's a global show in over 175 countries and is the author of Get a PhD in You, an Amazon top pick. Julie is featured in Forbes, Mind, Body, Green, the Chopra Center, Bustle, Drive Global, and a million other places for her work as a coach, teacher, and conscious business leader. She is a multi-time TEDx speaker and has spoken on stages throughout North America. I have had the pleasure to be in the audience. And Julie founded the Intuitive Life Designer Coach Academy, a top certification program where she certifies life coaches worldwide. She holds a master's degree in health and wellness coaching from Maryland University of Integrative Health and is a professor at Georgetown University in their coaching program. And honestly, the bio goes on and on and on, but let's get to it. Julie, thank you for being here today.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know when my cheeks are already hurting from smiling, we're in a good space. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, so many fun things to unpack here. So the first one, let's just dive right in. So I want to talk about this, like to be voted in the most influential life coaches, because, and it's kind of almost become a little bit of a joke in the industry. Like every teenager's like, I'm a life coach now. And so it's not just something you can wake up and decide, oh, I want to make money, so I'm just going to be a life coach. There are actually qualifications. There are things you need to learn and do and understand, and also have some life experiences, good and bad. So can you walk us through what that journey is like, Julie?
Oh yeah, you are bringing up, I think, a really important subject. And look, let me just say blanket statement. Part of the reason we're seeing so many people wanting to become coaches is because this work works. We're starting to see companies and organizations, and I can share, I've been hired by the government, by the military, by Fortune 500 companies, by school systems to coach and to help individuals and groups. The work works, but here is the thing. You would not go to a psychologist who just called themselves a psychologist without some study. And it has been a little Wild West-esque in the coaching world. Look, I know there are some people who naturally have the propensity and might have very little training and might actually be a great coach. And for those people, that's fantastic. For the majority of people that are going into this kind of healing and powerful personal development modality, you've got to have training. The integrity of the work, it is, when I was taught, it is so important. And the word integrity, I think that's it.
Immediately, like as soon as you said that, I'm over here like, yes, that's the thing.
That's the thing. And integrity, when you take out the judgment, integrity of a structure, if you have a bicycle and it's missing its spokes and its wheels, you can kind of ride it, but it doesn't have integrity to it. And it's very similar to this work, right? So I was a psychology major, public health major. I did not want to do research. And that is why I was like, I don't know if I want to be a psychologist. I always was sitting with, how do I really love understanding people and what drives them? And how do I help people to really step into their power, their gifts, their higher self, their best? And I love psychology. My best friend's a psychotherapist. A lot of times with psychology or being a psychologist, you're very focused on the past, whereas coaching is more focused on the present and the future. However, when I was trained, and I did end up working with a coach about 16 years ago, changed my life. I wasn't expecting this to happen. It was so powerful. It stopped me in my tracks. And I thought, if I can literally have a change this profound in my life and everything shifted afterwards, what the heck is this work? I need to check it out. And I found this amazing master's degree program. I didn't even know it existed. And it fell under what would be called like the positive psychology kind of rubric. But it's its own methodology. And that training, and we can talk about it, what does that even look like?
Oh,
There
yeah.
are competencies. Yeah, there's a whole thing to it, framework, competencies. Like, it's not just tell me what your goals are. Like, it is way, 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 way more complex and beyond that. And so it's important because there's an integrity aspect to it. And there's also it works. That's why it's blossoming and flourishing. I mean, that's what's happening. But there are tools, there are things you need to know to be able to, I believe, practice coach as a coach with integrity.
And I really think it helps highlight it. By the time you have government, military, and schools wanting this, it has to be so well vetted, so well proven. They're a lot more skeptical. They're not accepting snake oil, fly by night nonsense. They want to, I mean, these are institutions and they want to see proven techniques. So, how did you get
Yep.
into those old guards?
Yeah. It's a really good question. So when I went back to get my master's degree, I was also in the middle of it wasn't midlife, hopefully, but a little bit of a dark night of the soul. I was ending a marriage as amicably as possible. I was in a corporate day job. I was working, in top of HR, had two young kids, and I was getting my master's degree. So a lot was changing. And this work, it was a 2-year program. I learned so much about the brain, around mindfulness, around mindset, around how do you actually make change with adults. Adult learning and change is very different than with children and with young adults, very different.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. We get, adults can get really set in their ways, and it can also seem like, well, that has never changed, so it won't. I mean, there's so much around change theory. And so I started to notice a shift in my own health and well-being in a positive way. The things I was learning, the professors I was so lucky. I had incredible people I was learning with. And I just thought, I'll just do this on the side. I didn't really have a plan, but I had I had a practicum. We had, gosh, I think 100 hours of training. It was not just, in practicing with each other and then actual pro bono clients. And all of my pro bono clients, Jamie, wanted to stay on.
Yeah,
And
of course they did.
they wanted, and I was like, what is happening? And they were like, how much do you charge? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. I didn't even think that far ahead. I just love this work. So for me, I was really, I think, lucky. And also, this is a good match. Like, I really love helping people. I see their higher self, their best self. And it's such a joy to help someone change get unstuck and to change perspective. So very lucky about, gosh, I finished my degree and I ended up leaving my day job. It was 11 years there. Benefits. I mean, I was single mom at the time. It made zero sense, but I just knew I have to do this work. And I was really lucky. I came into contact with someone who ran a training and development center out of University of Maryland, close by. And he said, we need more people like you. So I did leadership development, and he knew my background. I also was certified with International Coaching Federation. I'd had my master's, and he said, we're starting, this is like 10 years ago now. He said, the military, we have government, we have all these contracts, they're starting to ask for coaches, for trained coaches. And I was there at the right time. I got placed. I mean, I coached over 40 I think it's GS-16. It's the highest level in the government. Some of the highest ranking military officers. It was really, really cool. Who are human beings with all kinds of things going on.
Right? What
Yeah.
a concept.
What a concept. And it was helpful. I'm like, oh, you know what? Just because you're C-suite or you're at the highest ranking, it does not mean you don't struggle with confidence or self-doubt or frustration or stuckness or, beliefs that are crappy that are not helping you. And I was so lucky. I had such a great experience. I got to coach tons and tons of people. I worked with the highest level nurses at Care First Blue Cross based out of Baltimore. So I worked with their head, like the nurses that were now the right under kind of the running their whole regions. And same thing, right? And a lot of the times issues would come around health and well-being. And I'm sure you see this, like just because you're in the medical field.
Healthcare professionals never, just kidding, always.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, you ladies, it was all women. Actually, in this group, it was about 40 women and high level. It was just amazing. These nurses were incredible. And the coaching and both in groups and individuals, it worked. I had some of the most amazing people. And then I got placed in this like huge construction company that is very successful in this area. And it was just so fun. I'm like, it doesn't matter where you apply this work. Now you do need the foundation. I believe everyone who's going to do this needs some sort of training in it. And there's different ways there's lots of different trainings. It is not just, I'm going to sit and help you accomplish your goals. There's so much more beyond that. And of course, goals are important. But what I saw was, and I keep seeing it now, I'm 10 years in my business. I just about to celebrate 10 years. And it's amazing. Like I'm working with a former Olympic ice skater who is reinventing herself, right? She's off the ice and had some things happen. And we're going deep into what matters to her. But that training, the integrity of that's really important. And I do believe this is why it's blossoming, is because it does work. When you do know what you're doing, there are plenty of coaches who are really well trained. And that is, to me, I teach many students how to coach, and I always hear like, oh my God, there's going to be no one left. I said, there's so many. Yeah, I don't know. Look around. Plenty of people, we've 8 billion people, and many people that still are looking for support and feel very alone and anxious and frustrated and overwhelmed and stuck. You're fine. Don't worry. You're going to have plenty of people that you can.
I think the cohort of people who are feeling alone, anxious, stuck, overwhelmed, there seem to be plenty of us.
Yes, there's plenty of us walking around. So
right. Well, and I find that so fascinating because people are like, oh, what do I need a life coach for? And they're like, coaches are for people who are only in struggle. But when you look at the top CEOs who are running multi-billion-dollar countries, when you're looking at Super Bowl football players, when you're looking at Olympic athletes at their peak, what do they have? Coaches, typically not just one. They have multiple coaches. They have coach that gets them to this level and then someone to get them to this level. And I was thinking, why wouldn't my life, my one and only precious life, be as important as a football match? Like, why would they be worthy of a coach, but my life is not? That once I embraced that, I was like, oh, wow, that's huge.
Yes. And I love that you just brought that up. It can seem, and I think for a while it used to seem like, okay, only if you're high performing. No, like if you want to infuse more love into your life with yourself, you want more self-awareness, you want to feel more peaceful. We all deserve that. We all deserve to feel grounded and to feel like we're, supported. And it's not just for the elite athletes, performers, although yes, that's where I think we saw coaching begin. I love what you're saying. It's so true. And what I see is oftentimes people I'm working with, it's not necessarily something, yes, often it might be, I'm feeling really stuck here. I feel like I have this desire and I haven't been able to do it. And that might be writing a book. That might be ending a marriage. That might be shedding weight that it does not serve anymore. It could be anything.
Yes. It's that we know that there's something more. Yeah. And even sometimes if we know the right thing to do, that there's a difference between the knowledge and the action. And a coach, they help with knowledge, they help with accountability, but so much more because it's a journey.
Absolutely. The competency is one of the things that, and I think this can actually be a similar overlap with being a physician, is we were talking about this earlier, one of the first things I teach is about your presence, about having that we call it sacred space and presence, where really what you're doing is you're creating a space where the person, your client that you're working with, feels 100% comfortable to be vulnerable, to share, to trust you, to let it out. Because often we walk around with shame. We walk around with, I'm crappy things we're saying, like, I'm not good enough and I should be doing this. Same thing. One of the things about you that's just so amazing is your presence, your bedside manner, your presence. And it's the same thing with coaching, that your presence is so paramount. If you're not, and this is where I really believe each of us who coaches, it's imperative to take care of ourselves at a high level.
Oh, sister, yes.
Yeah.
And you're on your 12th cohort now, did you say, of certified coaches that you have trained?
Yes.
And so I want to, which I think is amazing. I want to dive into that. But something you said there is so important. And I know a lot of our listeners need to hear this, the self-care. People are trying to pour into everyone else from an empty bucket. Julie, give us permission. We need self-care because we're all trying to take care of the world. Help us out.
I was looking at my little quote. First of all, being of true service comes from overflow. You cannot give when it's empty, when your cup is empty. It is the opposite of what we think. I actually wrote an article about this, the whole notion of selfish, which it's such a conditioned way of looking at loving yourself. When you feel rested, and any parent, like if you've had young kids, I remember I would just pray for sleep. I was like, I don't really care about anything else, maybe eating something, a shower, just let me sleep. Like I saw why it was used as a tactic for, if you're being tortured. Yeah. 100%. Right. So think about that, right? Your ability to care for your children or others. You can only give as much as you have within you. It's the same thing with our emotional health, our physical health, our energetic health. We're more than just our brain. We're more than just our body. There's the idea of the mind, body, spirit. We've got all three woven into one amazing human being that is, let me just say, I could get into, you probably know the statistics, but it's like 1 in 14 trillion chances of being born when you look at the statistics. So yes. We are walking miracles. And what makes you think you're not worthy of taking care of yourself? It is being self-full. You want to be full in yourself, not of yourself, in yourself. Huge difference for me. I have more capacity to handle triggers. You are more resilient. It affects your immune system in a positive way. And then guess what? When you feel more grounded and nourished in every way, you are able to give, you're able to show up, you're able to actually be of service in a bigger way.
Yes. It's so funny. I teach my residents, I'm a better doctor with a full stomach and an empty bladder.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, but you get it, right? Because you're not a good listener trying to tell you about their heart attack. And you're like, I just have to pee. I don't really care what you're saying.
Yeah.
So when I first started on my self-care and selfish journey, I realized I can't be the kind of doctor I want to be if I'm exhausted, hungry, all those things. Yeah. And as a mom trying to continue that journey so my kids don't see me running myself into the ground to serve them, what kind of role model is that? And then having a partner who knows, like everybody, what they choose for self-care is different. For me, one of my best forms of stress release is exercise. And my husband, who's a very loving person, one day, I, of course, thought I was being fine, but apparently I must have been a little spicy. He's like, instead of saying, hey, you're being, a B word, he's like, honey, would you like to go for a run? Which was such a loving and supportive way of saying I'm just being a grouchy B word. And I was like, oh, okay, I need a little self-care today.
I'm getting the message. I got it. I'm hearing you loud and clear. And it's so great. You have these tools. It's to me, okay, so anyone listening right now, I'm sure I'm pretty positive. You wake up, what do? You pee, you brush your teeth, right? This is called hygiene. It's called hygiene. I really see our taking care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically as part of our hygiene practice.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. So for me, and one of the things I teach is not only how are we nourishing ourselves, but nourishing ourselves food, with thought, with movement, with silence. Are you giving yourself space to calm your nervous system, to be able to tune into your greater wisdom and intelligence that does not always live right in your brain? We have heart intelligence. We know this scientifically. So this self-care, to me, is on the same level as any hygiene routine. I would never not floss and brush my teeth most nights, like
Yeah.
most nights. And in the most times, mostly I shower, right? Like hygiene, most of us, I'm guessing, except when you have young babies,
Oh,
really,
listen, all rules are off. At least
yeah.
you're like, yeah, you survived. You're good enough.
0 to 3 months, forget. I'm like, your hygiene is like your breathing. That's
Like,
really the
no rules,
hygiene.
no gods,
Yeah.
no kings. Like,
Get some vitamin D so you don't literally wither. And yeah, but this hygiene, and I think it's important, and we can't give what we don't have. And we're all made of energy. Everything is energy, and we transmit that energy. So as a physician or as a coach, and very different, obviously, ways of showing up in the world, being of service, as a coach, to really hear what somebody is saying and not saying, there's a level of presence and a level of listening. And what I teach is a type of listening that most of us are starving from. Most of us are not listened to in a way that feels like when you have a bowl of soup that has like every vegetable, and maybe it's got chicken and it's got quinoa, it's like delicious and it's nourishing, and you come away and you're like, wow, I feel like my body is vibrating from the nourishment. That kind of listening where you are really, you feel like, wow, someone gets me, hears me, and actually heard things in what I was saying that I didn't even consciously was able to say or to note or to even notice. So these tools, these ways of being taught, these competencies is the word, competencies. It's not just listening. It's not just asking questions. It's not just being present. We take it, and I always joke, I say, no, you go 100 feet down into the ocean type of like mile, we're going deep, deep end. We're not staying at the surface. And that takes practice. And it's hard to be able to do that if you're not practicing that with yourself. So that is why one of the first things we do, and it's constantly through training, and anyone who's doing coaching, I'm sure, has some sort of practice. It's constantly every day. What are you doing to take care of yourself? Mind, body, spirit, all of it, right? How are you doing that? And if you really want to be excellent at this, you really want to succeed and help people make a difference, this is the most important thing. And it's actually not scrolling on your phone. It's not posting on your Instagram. It's going to be taking care of yourself. And that looks different for everybody, but there are ways that we can do that.
oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, that's so powerful. Oh my gosh. So there are so many things that you're teaching. I love that. If you're looking for a coach, the coach should be doing the work, first of all. They should be doing it themselves, practicing what you preach. It's like if your doctor is obese and eating a donut and smoking and telling you to make healthier choices, it's a little bit hard to take that seriously.
Yeah, I'm not laughing about what happened to me when I was about 11. I actually had that situation. I struggled. I'm very open. I struggled with binge eating. And I just think for me, I didn't really have a blueprint for how to handle emotions. It was basically like love, and we're just going to put lipstick on the pig at all times. So, the other emotions were like, what do you do with those? So for me, I think eating and using sugary, starchy foods, it made me feel grounded. It made me feel better. It's a dopamine hit.
Oh,
Not
sure.
not the best tool, but the tool I used. And my mom, who is really like worried, is my daughter gaining weight. I mean, when I look back, I'm like, I was healthy, but she
Oh,
was,
right.
yeah, freaking out about it. Took me to a physician who was probably 400 pounds obese, to the extent of I can't imagine he'd still be alive today, but he said, oh, just have her starve herself for 2 weeks. Just have her starve.
Oh, an
Yeah.
11-year-old girl. Oh my, every part of my soul is hurting right now. Like the amount of
Yeah, that's
harm.
horribly, horribly, it was awful. And I do think part of why I do what I do and why I got interested in human behavior and came out of this, like, some part of me was like, that's batshit crazy. Excuse my language.
Well,
No,
that is batshit crazy. I
yeah,
fully support
yeah,
that.
that is crazy. And I was obviously I was upset and I felt like something was wrong with me and I was shamed and I was awful.
This is somebody in a trusted authority position who abused that to give you not only an unhealthy directive, but an internalized message.
Yeah, it was not good. But it's funny. We then ended up, I remember this, my mom took me to the obesity childhood specialist in the country who happened to be at Tufts. I grew up in Boston, who I then interned for. And then he's written books and books on childhood, adolescent food issues and obesity. It ended up later becoming this like, wow, there's more to this than just starving yourself. And so that it became a blessing, but that's the thing. We've got to be practicing what we're talking about. And with coaching, it's a little, the way I was trained and what I believe, it's less giving directive and less telling someone what to do. It's more about, because motivation, if you want real motivation, intrinsic motivation, it's got to come from within. And me telling someone how to do it or what to do is different than, for example, you realizing the importance and finding in your own self, in your own life, the importance of that action or that goal, and then learning resilience and reliance on yourself with support. Very different. So you've got to be able to do that with yourself as well.
And I love that you share that. And in your book and in your podcast, you share your struggles. You are not putting yourself out there saying, I am Julie and I am perfect and I've never struggled with a darn thing. I just have amazing hair and gorgeous eyes and beautiful skin and I'm just perfect. All those things are true, but you're also a real human being. You've struggled with sugar. You've struggled with your weight. You've struggled with anxiety. You've struggled with actual human problems that we have all had, and also found your way to the other side.
Yeah. And it's, before we met, I was meeting with a coach who does energy heal. I'm working with someone now. I have different types of coaches. I use this work for myself. It's a constant look. I'm constantly evolving and growing and shifting. And what I found is the more that I show up for myself, which could have been seen as selfish and, in the way that we're conditioned, it's true. The more resilience I have with triggers, with challenges, with children, with life, and the more I have to give. And it's just, I always say this, for coaches, get yourself a coach, make sure you're working with a coach, have someone you're working with. You've got to be knowing and really living the work. And in that coaching others, have the training. So, you're working with somebody. It's the same, again, a psychologist or a therapist is not going to just call out that they're a therapist without a background. You're going into somebody's
energy. You can't just walk into my ER and be like, today I'm an ER doctor. It doesn't work like that.
Yes. Now, granted, that's even like we're going into the body. But you are entering somebody's energy field. You're also entering their psyche. And I see it as very sacred. It really is. To me, it's like a psychic surgery. It has that kind of feel to it. You're entering somebody's their life story and their heart and what's important to them. And so having those competencies are really crucial. And when you do learn how to use them, and this is why when I teach it, we practice it. They practice it with pro bono clients within our group. It's a lot of practicing it and then getting coached themselves. They always get coached as well. They have to.
Yeah. It's that combination of the competency and integrity that I think is just, and that can be missing in this industry. But just like with anything, there are different types of medicine that are considered alternative. And some people just chuck them all out as snake oil because there are snake oil salespeople who are ruining it. Yes. And so same thing with life coaches. When you have the competency, you have put in the reps, you have the integrity, you have the life experience, you've gone through your own journey. That's the type of thing that makes that life-giving transformation. That's where it gets exciting.
Exactly. Look, the thing with this work, there's a lot of different avenues to go through to shift and change, right? So for some, it's a counselor, a therapist, and a coach. I know people that go to an acupuncturist for energy work. There's so many different modalities. And then with coaching, there's a lot of different focus. You can focus in different niches within coaching. What I have found is the other aspect that often is missing is personally what I think is our biggest superpower, which is this inner guidance that we have, otherwise known as intuition. And that is a big piece that I focus on, and that I would just say for all of us, we have answers within and to really learn how to tune into them and help somebody to tune into them, that can change the game because we do have this incredible guidance, this power, this intuitive knowing, and everyone has that a little different. That, and I could easily go into how do you even know you have it? Well, if you've had one gut feeling about something,
Yes.
like most, right, get it in their gut, you might get a sense in your chest, you might just have a feeling, a knowing. We don't want to sidetrack that. That's often where our dreams live. That's often where our truth lives. And so that's another component. How do you even help somebody to access that if you're not tapping it into yourself? And that's one of my favorite parts because it can seem very mysterious and enigmatic and almost like woo woo. And the truth is it's how we're wired. We literally have this access. We all do.
We do. And there's a lot of science behind that. So I've been practicing medicine. This will be the start of my 19th year. And
Wow.
so there are many times now, as an experienced emergency physician who listens to patients, I can walk into a room and my gut will say, this is what's going on, or they're sicker than they're letting on, or they're being really stoic, but they're in a lot of pain. That intuition is there, and it is a result of life experiences, practice, pattern recognition. And anytime, whether in medicine or in relationships, where I have tried to ignore my gut and let other people think this person is okay, or they're telling me that, this, and ignoring my gut, I've never been happy in the end that I made that choice. It's always when you listen to that thing. So the gut is not a woo woo thing. It is your life experience, and your body just gets there a lot faster than your brain does. And there's so many studies with, fit trick card decks and stuff like that. People's physiologic reactions, you can read, like I do the Whoop, you do the Aura Ring. Your body can actually detect the scam before your brain is consciously aware of it. So it is incredible how scientific intuition is.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I love how you just described it. And then we have, for anyone who's done anything around the Heart Math Institute, Heart Intelligence, electromagnetic field, which is like, I think beyond what it is around our brain. It literally through scientific studies shows we pick up information through our heart. We have similar, it's like hard to even understand this. Similar, like the gut is like the second brain. Our heart also has similar cells that pick up information around us. And so I think part of it is a conditioning thing, but here's the thing. If I'm working with somebody and they're feeling overwhelmed or depressed, and I'm not talking necessarily maybe clinically depressed, but feeling like lethargic or frustrated or like just bummed because their goal or something they've always wanted is not happening, or maybe, they're believing the thought patterns, right, that are saying otherwise. But let's say they're in a relationship that is not the best for them, right? Or that can often be accessed through your intuition. And it's sometimes a good way to bypass our thoughts by going through intuition. So learning how to unpack and decipher that kind of coding, it's really important as a coach. You're really tuning into your own intuition and to the person you're working with. Like you said, I can sense with somebody immediately if I'm like, they're holding something back from themselves, or they're not listening to they're scared. They're not listening to their gut at all. And this is causing a lot of stuckness. You can see it.
Yes. I see this in my human trafficking victims, interestingly enough. They are so in tune to their gut. Alice J., who wrote this just heart-wrenching book called Out of the Darkness. She was started being trafficked when I believe she was about 9 years old. What she learned on the streets were a PhD in instincts. She can tell within seconds of that door closing, is this person going to beat her? Are they going to kill her? Are they going to pay her? And I remember hearing that, and that's like such an extreme example. But because she had to for survival. And so when we realize that we can also harness that power, and it doesn't have to be in that level of danger or anything else, you can utilize what your body will naturally give you, and so much to your benefit.
Oh, wow. That is at a whole other level. I can't even, God, my heart goes out to her and anyone who's gone through that. I'm just like, whew, as an empath, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, that's when I first started entering that space, because I'm an empath as well. When we're around each other, there's like so much energy. But just my heart was called to it, because I'm like, well, how, at a certain point, who am I not to use my platform? So I do a lot to help educate people on how to recognize human trafficking. And that involves, like, you can't go teach something. I can't like make a logo and decide I'm a human trafficking expert with no actual training. So I spend a lot of time with people with lived experiences, just like how you do with your coaches, right? You can't just suddenly become an expert. You have to go live it and do it. And I love that about you. I just think that's such an incredible thing. And all these years that I've known you, you live your work, your podcast, you bring on amazing things, your book. Oh, we need to dive into your book here for a minute, because this is one of my favorites. So I listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks. I'm such a I used to be a visual learner, but I take in audio now so much. And I like to, whenever possible, be out in nature when I'm doing it. So I'm listening to your book, and I remember this vividly because this is very funny. And I'm coming up around this like big, beautiful tree in my neighborhood. It's one of my favorites. It always makes me smile. And that was a part in your book where you called yourself the butt police. And I had to stop what I was doing because I was laughing so hard. And now every time I pass this tree, I get a little chuckle because I created an association. So, Julie, let's talk about the power of words. And can you please explain to our lovely listeners the butt police?
Oh my gosh. Again, my cheeks are hurting and I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, good Lord. It's so funny because I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I did write about that. And I wrote about, I tend to write things or speak things or record and then I don't ever read it or listen again. I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'm good. There's a part of me that's like, oh boy, like, oh yeah, I forgot. I talked about that. Well, this is one of the gifts of the coaching world and what I learned working with this coach and in this program I'd done years ago that really did shift the way I looked at everything is, the words. So it's the words we're saying make a difference. And it's also the energy behind it, the emotion behind it. So, you can say you can say something in two different ways and it means completely two different things.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I really believe this, and I forget the actual quote, but I think we have it's like 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. You've probably talked about this before. So many of them are throwaway thoughts, a lot of them. Lots of them. And one of the things I like to do, and I've done this before, is just take a day and just sort of track from the time you get up and look in the mirror, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror. What are you saying? You will get a lot of information if you just did even like a morning about what you're saying to yourself. Those thoughts, our body, our cells, our energy is listening, is taking it in. Not like our cells all have ears, but like there's a connection. There's a mind-body connection. We know this. So I really do. It's funny. I was just doing it this morning. I'm like, this probably looks ridiculous, but I don't really care. Is talking to my body and my cells and just saying, thank you. Good morning. Thank you and I actually add in tapping sometimes to it. And I don't think I wrote about tapping in my book, but you could just put your hand on your heart. The truth is that these words that we're saying, we often take what someone tells us and we make it mean something, or we flip the script on ourselves. And I actually think one of the most damaging things we can do is self-abandonment and self-loathing. And that is often a pattern. It's not necessarily, I've seen this so often personally with people that I've worked with. Like, do you actually really believe that? Well, I feel like I believe that. I think I believe that I'm not worthy to spend that extra money on myself or time on myself or whatever it is. Where did you get that? Who said that to you? When did you turn on yourself? And we do that a lot. Those words we're saying make a big difference. So, whether it's feeling envious of somebody else and making comments like, I wish my butt looked like that, or I could never look like that, or whatever we're saying to ourselves. So the thing that I love, and I actually just got this sign, one of the words that can really, really help is the word and versus but. I literally just posted, actually this week, I did an episode about just being in tune with what you're saying to yourself and following the signs in your life. And I was coming out of the gym and was really struggling with a program I'm about to launch and felt like it had to be one way. And I kept hearing, well, it could be both. Maybe it's you're helping coaches, but other people too. And then this truck, I couldn't move for 5 minutes. And the whole truck, all it said was and on it.
Instead of saying but, you're replacing this powerful word.
The minute you say but, and we don't think of this, but semantically, the minute you say it, you're closing off possibilities. You're saying it can either be this or that. It's very dualistic. It's very either or. When you bring an and, maybe there's another answer. And maybe I don't know how to do this yet. So that truck, it just made me laugh so hard. I took a picture, I saved it, I have it on my screensaver, and I'm like, do not forget the power of and. I wrote about it. And when we add and versus saying but, it really makes a difference in terms of literally what's possible in your life. Because our words create our thoughts, create our actions, create our reality. It's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so powerful. Very hilarious, obviously, always. So now anytime I hear myself saying but, I'm like picturing the butt please coming in. This hilarious image, but it helps you remind, okay, what is the and?
Yeah. What is the and? And I catch myself all the time. I catch it, and it's something I teach in coaching, especially when you're listening to somebody and you're reflecting back and you're holding space for somebody. It's unless it's really used for you're saying, oh, you're really looking at it like it's only this, but that, or this or that. It's such a powerful tool to watch yourself. Where are you really cutting yourself off from? We don't know what's possible. Oftentimes we are living at like 1% capacity of what's possible, if that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So true. So I want to talk about kind of various ways that people can interact with you. But I love the book. I actually, dang it. I've been rearranging my office because I felt an energetic shift. So anyway, you can tell I really love a book because I listen to it on Audible, but then when I buy the actual physical book, because like to get that kind of dual thing, like I want to write notes in it and stuff like that. So, I mean, the book, you've got the podcast, you have for people who want coaching, you have incredibly well-trained people with certifications, with integrity, with experience. And if there are some people who are listening that are like, I love all of this and
yeah,
also want to take that next step and be a coach. Sometimes the thing we need the most, we do. I remember like when I was starting residency and taking advanced cardiac life support, and I didn't feel like I 100% understood it, but I knew how critically important it was. So what I did was not only did I take the class, I became a teacher of the class. And to me, that's how I get that. So for those, there are people who are listening that, not everyone doesn't have to be a coach, for goodness sakes, like be good at what you're good at. But for those who are called, what is on the horizon for you?
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking. And you know what I've noticed? It's so interesting now because we're in our 5th year of this. I've been teaching coaching both at Georgetown University and then where I went to school for over a decade. And that was the thing. I always loved it. And then with the shift in 2020,
Oh boy.
which is a wake up of wake ups, I got a really strong intuitive nudge. It's time for you to teach this, and you can teach it to people from all over the world. And I've had students from all over the world. So, a lot of people that have come in are therapists. I've had physicians, I've had lawyers, accountants. There's usually this, I don't know, I want to do this work on myself and I feel like I want to help people. So you don't have to know that you want to be a coach. It could be, something about it. Like I'm drawn to this helping myself to be more aware and to get unstuck. And I think that could be cool with other people. I would say 50% come in like that. And then 50% are already actually trained coaches that are like, oh, I missed these competencies or I missed the part on intuition. So I am redesigning the 4-month actual program. I've been teaching that. This is now going to be the 12th time. So we've got it dialed in. I have amazing mentor coaches. It's one of my favorite things. It's such a magical, miraculous program. You do not go through that and come out the same person in the best of ways. I mean it. You can ask anybody. You really don't. And I'm going to be adding an intuition aspect to it. So there's going to be a 2-month intuition school where I'll be teaching that and teaching people how to really learn how to follow your gut, your guidance. What does that mean? What does that look like in a very practical way? I work with a lot of left brainers who are looking to move into how do I bring in the right brain too? I'm a recovering left brain enthusiast. So I have a lot of women and people coming from there. And so we'll be getting started in the fall. And I would say for me, the bringing in the intuition, we do touch that in the 4-month training. We're just going to go deeper because I really, really believe, and I've seen it, to get that for yourself first and to have that space and grace to really learn how to follow your own intuition, your nudges, your gut, and to work and see the shifts. It only amplifies your ability as a coach.
It is, and I love that. You know the science. We know the science behind it, but you're teaching people how to actually utilize it in a practical way.
Very practical. I'm all about, this work. There's an art and science to it, and I'm very clear. It's very structured because when you're coaching somebody, it's like a dance, right? You don't really have a script, but you do need a framework that is solid. So that to me, there's a bit of you're going to be in the moment and you're going to use the framework and the tools. And then every person is different. And I want you to bring your whole self, and it's not the same every time. So there's a bit of both. And actually, it's a nice balance of left and right brain. It's both.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so exciting. The amount of lives changed with that kind of coaching, whether people are listening to your podcast, reading the book, starting that wherever they're at on that self-care journey, really understanding it's self-full, not selfish. I love that. I have my whole desk here is surrounded by quotes, and I'm going to these pop out at me and I add them. Your words become worlds, your thoughts become things. Be that butt police. It's like telling your kid, I love you, but go clean your room. And you're just like, wait, do you love me? That's very confusing.
Yeah, it's confusing. And it then has you look at, that's right. And we do it to ourselves all the time. We judge and we do it to others, we do it to ourselves. Exactly. It's confusing. It's like your foot on the gas and your foot on the brake. That's what but does. And how far are you going to drive if you have your foot on the gas and your foot on the brake?
Right.
Not so much. You're not
I
going
tried that in driver's ed. It didn't go well.
Yeah. It's going to be a nightmare. Trust me. I've done that before and it's not fun. It's not going to work energetically in reality. So and it allows you to put your foot on the gas, put your foot over to the side, not on the brake, and see where you're going to go. And it gives you possibility and openness. It really changes things.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love this so much. So there are a lot of ways that people can interact with you. But Julie, you came bearing gifts. Can you tell us about that? I love that about you. Of course you did.
Well, I love you. I love gifts. I think even though it didn't score as my top, the love languages, it was like third. I love gifts. I've always loved gifts. I love giving them.
Yes.
They're fun. They're fun to give. So this gift, I thought it would be really helpful for anybody who is looking to become more full in yourself. It's a 7-day tool set to manifest your highest, greatest self, your goals, what's on your heart. And there's a practice every single day. These are practices I use in the tool set in each day. One of the days has an audio meditation. One has a way to really look at your time and to come from a place of how are you nourishing yourself. And we definitely have one that is tracking your words and what you're saying to yourself in a very cool way. So every day has a different tool that I use that I think is powerful. And that is part of what I teach my coaches as well. And I can share the link. I'm sure you'll have it, but it's for anybody and everyone. I've gotten really wonderful feedback. It's pretty, it's a pretty guide as well, which is always important.
It's free. I mean, how lovely is that? When you can tell when you are meeting true experts, they are coming on podcasts, you can understand their credentials, their integrity, that they know what they're talking about. And they are so passionate about what they do that they want you to have it.
Absolutely.
Want this work into the world. And so that's at juliereisler.com/toolset. Did I get that right?
Yep, you totally did. Yes.
And that's Julie Reisler. And this will all be in the show notes for those of you driving. Please don't crash. It's Reisler.
Yes.
Reisler.
Yes, like the store, REI. I always say like the store, REISLER.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's easy to remember. It's the same with my first name. Nobody ever spelled it right. Autocorrect finally stopped bullying me that this is just how my name is spelled.
With the I. It's funny because I'm like AI. It's like AI. See? AI is in there, right? Appreciative inquiry. Doesn't have to just be artificial intelligence.
Exactly, right? Oh my gosh. So, all right, everybody. Julie Reisler, thank you so much for being here. Stay tuned for your top takeaways. You're just an incredible human being, and I'm just so delighted to get to spend time with you.
I just want to say that I feel the exact same. You are such a gift. Thank you for having me. I hope this was powerful and impactful to all your listeners. And thank you for being just such a gem and an example of really just wisdom and kindness and compassion and brilliance. It's true.
So now you're making me blush. I love you. You're the best. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Navigating Hope podcast. Today's guest is Julie Reisler, an empowering life coach, intuitive guide, and transformational leader. Julie has inspired countless people to make profound changes in their lives. And today, she shared some of the most powerful lessons she's learned along the way. Here are your 5 key takeaways from our enlightening conversation. Number 1, the power of words and self-talk. Julie discussed how our inner dialogue shapes our reality. She encourages listeners to pay attention to their self-talk, noting the words we use have a profound impact on our emotions, actions, and ultimately our lives. By shifting negative self-talk to positive affirmations, we can start to create a life that aligns with our highest potential. Takeaway 2, your intuition is a superpower. Julie highlighted the importance of tuning into your intuition, your internal compass. She explained how listening to gut feelings and heart intelligence can guide us through life's challenges, helping us make better decisions and stay true to ourselves. Learning to trust your intuition is a key step in personal growth and empowerment. Takeaway number 3, self-care is essential. Self-care for Julie is non-negotiable. She described it as hygiene for the soul, reminding us that we cannot pour into others from an empty cup. Julie emphasized the need to nurture mind, body, and spirit through daily self-care practices that help recharge our energy, allowing us to show up fully in our personal and professional lives. Number 4, coaching with integrity. As a coach and a mentor to other coaches, Julie talked about the importance of practicing what you preach. Coaches, just like physicians or therapists, must undergo proper training and work on their own personal development. For her, coaching is about helping others live their best lives through self-awareness, accountability, and compassion. And lastly, number 5, using and instead of but. One simple but powerful takeaway was Julie's suggestion to replace the word but with and. By doing so, we open up more possibilities in our thinking and decision-making. This simple linguistic shift can turn limiting thoughts into expansive opportunities, allowing us to embrace a more holistic and empowered approach. Julie's insights about self-care, intuition, and personal empowerment are rooted in actionable practices. To help you get started on setting meaningful and achievable goals, we are offering you a free Smarter Goals worksheet. This tool will guide you through creating your smarter goals that will align you with your true desires. Click the link in the show notes to download your free copy today. Remember, whether you're working on tuning into your intuition or setting goals for your next big project, you have the power to transform your life. Stay hopeful, stay determined, and as always, keep navigating your journey with hope. Thank you for tuning into Navigating Hope with me, Dr. Jaime Hope. It has been an honor to navigate the realms of health and wellness with you today. Remember, in the journey toward a healthier life, knowledge is your compass. If you enjoyed our time together, please share, like, and subscribe to Navigating Hope. Join us next week where we'll continue to empower your health journey, arming you with the wisdom to navigate life's challenges and keep the emergency room in your rearview mirror.